Collin County jury found young Karmelo Anthony guilty of murder in the fatal stabbing of Austin Metcalf. Big shout out to my man B Hunter, the spot. Welcome everybody. You probably are going to learn a lot today, and I hope that my audience, we will be able to learn from this and govern ourselves accordingly moving forward. Conflict happens, but there's a way in which you have to handle yourself in this society. Now, big shout out to Willie D. I spent a lot of time with him today doing the preliminary lead up to this. Man, he and I had a great back and forth, two grown men. On many things we agree, but some things we vehemently disagree. But the bottom line is, man, it was a great conversation. Y'all make sure y'all go over there and check out Willie D's channel and my live take on that. It was very passionate. What I try to do oftentimes is just try to give you the cold, hard facts. But sometimes, you know, man, I speak as a father, I speak as an American, and I speak as a man, you know, and all of that, that is not distinguishable. So, but as I always said at this time, man, if you learn something, I should earn something. But let's get back to this work. Somebody type this work in the chat room and make sure if you like this work, you subscribe to the channel, like, share, subscribe. Now, this case involved two 17-year-old boys. Okay, Austin Metcalf is dead. Karmelo Anthony has now been convicted of murder. The stabbing happened on April 2nd, 2025, during a high school track meet in Kirkendall Stadium in Frisco, Texas. And Austin was connected to Memorial High School. Karmelo was connected to Centennial High School, and the basic facts are simple, but the testimony wasn't. It was starting to rain. The track meet was delayed. The kids gathered under a team tent to stay dry. Centennial reportedly didn't have his tent set up yet, so Karmelo was under the memorial tent. Now, according to the testimony, he was already there before Austin Metcalf and his twin brother Hunter came into the area. And that matters because this wasn't just some random kid walking into another school space looking for trouble. It was raining. The kids were trying to get out of the weather. This boy had a track meet to run in. And Karmelo also knew at least one student under the tent. And the witnesses reportedly saw them greet each other. They dapped each other up. And there's also testimony that Karmelo, you know, he made an off-color joke about Memorial's football team. He said something like, y'all are ass. So, and he was joking with his friend, which lets you know that there was a certain level of comfort that he had. See? And that may have started the tension. I don't know. From there, the stories don't line up perfectly. There was about 9 witnesses. They reportedly gave different accounts about where Austin's twin brother Hunter was, and what Karmelo said, how aggressive the exchange was, how serious the pushes were, or the push was. And some called it a small shove or a nudge, and other witnesses described it as something more like a football style move, you know, in and up, almost like a lineman or a linebacker hitting somebody. And there was also testimony suggesting that the confrontation lasted not a split second, but more like 4 to 6 minutes, which is a lifetime. And that raises some serious questions. Where were the adults? Where were the coaches? Why were kids arguing under a tent for several minutes at a school event with no adults stepping in? And so the physical picture also matters. Karmelo was reportedly sitting on the bleachers. Okay, Austin was standing over him or near him. Some of the witnesses said that Austin, who's a much bigger boy, was standing over him. Some witnesses said Austin leaned in or actually pushed him. And Karmelo allegedly never got out of his seat before the stabbing. The video that they played at the trial didn't clearly capture what was said or exactly what happened under the tent. So the jury had to rely heavily on the witness testimony and the physical evidence and the police statements. After the stabbing, the school resource officer, whose name was Officer Cortez, he responded at about 10:01 a.m. And before being questioned, Karmelo said, "I was protecting myself." Okay, he said this without being prompted, without being questioned by police. He also said he put his hands on me. Later in the patrol car, Karmelo asked whether Austin was going to be okay. But as we know, Austin Metcalf died, and nothing about pointing out inconsistency changes that fact. We got a boy who's dead, 17-year-old boy, lost his life at a high school track meet. That's a tragedy. But the fact that the ending was tragic doesn't erase the questions about what happened before the stabbing. The jury heard the evidence and found Karmelo guilty of murder. So legally, at least now, or for now, the self-defense argument failed. The jury didn't accept that Karmelo reasonably believed deadly force was immediately necessary. And that's something we need to talk about. Now, as far as this criminal case, the case moves to sentencing, but the bigger question remains. How did a rain delay turn into a murder conviction at a track meet? Why did Karmelo have a knife at school? And how did a teenage ego, a tent dispute, and a few minutes of confrontation turn into one family planning a funeral and another family watching their son face decades in prison? That's what we're talking about today. Somebody type today. Now, let's talk about how the jury got to the murder conviction. Everybody seems to be confused about this other than the prosecutor, the judge, and the defense lawyers. If you don't think they had a pretty good idea what this jury was going to come back with ahead of time, you don't understand the practice of law. Yes, the case had race involved. There was public pressure. And they had emotion all over it. Karmelo Anthony is black. Austin Metcalf is white. The jury had no black jurors. And that matters socially. But legally, the question for the jury was simple. Was this murder, manslaughter, or justified self-defense? The jury came back with murder. So what does that mean? It means the jury believed Karmelo Anthony's use of the knife fit Texas murder law. They didn't believe the self-defense claim justified deadly force. Let's talk about it. Under Texas Penal Code, Section 19.02, murder doesn't only mean a person planning to kill somebody. A person commits murder if he intentionally or knowingly causes another person's death. But a person also commits murder if he intends to cause serious bodily injury and commits an act clearly dangerous to human life that causes death. The second part is important. Listen. The state didn't necessarily have to prove Karmelo woke up that morning planning to kill Austin Metcalf. The state could argue that once Karmelo pulled a knife and used it during a confrontation, he either knowingly caused death or intended to cause serious bodily injury through an act clearly dangerous to human life. A knife to the chest is going to be treated as an act clearly dangerous to human life. And Austin died. And that's how the jury gets murdered. Now, some of you all may not understand murder, capital murder, manslaughter. So we're going to kind of talk about that a little bit. You're going to learn something. Capital murder wasn't an issue. It wasn't an issue. Austin was 17. This wasn't a robbery. Karmelo wasn't trying to kidnap him. It wasn't a murder for hire. It wasn't the murdering multiple people. That's not what we're doing. And under the Texas capital murder law, you need one of those aggravating circumstances. So this was never really a capital murder case at all. It was a murder case with manslaughter and self-defense is the major question. Now, manslaughter. This was a possible lesser option. Now, like most states, Texas has something in its penal code, 19.04. Manslaughter means recklessly causing another person's death. That's where the jury could have said he didn't mean to kill him. He acted recklessly. He pulled a knife in a stupid, emotional, chaotic moment and the kid died. But the jury didn't do that. They didn't land on manslaughter. They landed on murder. And that tells me the jury believed this wasn't just reckless. The jury believed that the use of the knife crossed the line into intentional or knowing conduct, or at least an intent to cause serious bodily injury through an act clearly dangerous to human life. And I think we all can agree putting a knife in somebody's chest is contemplated to cause serious bodily injury to a human being.